Good morning to you. Welcome. Andy Wright Travel, Andy Wright speaking. So, what I want to talk about is something that I can't talk about. Basically because of YouTube censorship. This video is going to be split into two parts. This first part will be just the initial chat, and then you'll have to go over to Odysee, Andy Wright Travel, for the rest of the video to find out what I'm going to be talking about, because the subject matter is current, it's quite relevant, and also it is very, very important. What I want to highlight is that people like us, that's me included, and Richard Barrow, who is a expat. He is a self-professed blogger and allegedly has been in Thailand for 28 years and lives there and blogs about everything to Thailand related. He is obviously has connections with various government bodies because he seems to get the news quite quickly and is able to disseminate that to expats and potential visitors, which I find is very useful sometimes. There's been a lot of stories that he's done, especially about the immigration situation in the last year, and I am going to say it now, I do follow him on Twitter. And he also has obviously Facebook and social media, and he has a blog which you can find here. So this is Richard Barrow in Thailand. This is actually his blog page, richardbarrow.com. He is an expat living here in Thailand for 28 years. He's been blogging about life and travel in Thailand since 1998. He was one of the first bloggers, and now he's the longest running blogger. And he posts daily on the social media. I want to make it perfectly clear, this is not a hit job against him in particular, because it's not. As I say, I follow his posts and they are very useful. What I'm going to tell you now is that him and myself, as information disseminators, we make posts and videos about various subjects. Some subjects that we talk about could be considered controversial. In particular, this one subject that I want to talk about, that we cannot talk about here, that you'll have to go over to Odysee to hear it. But before we go, I want to highlight that we have a responsibility to present both sides of the story. It's very important that we are not biased in any way. That obviously, because there are certain channels and certain people who are quite happy to give a one-sided view of everything, and of course that encourages other people to do the same. The information that we pass on can be vitally important for people, not only living in the country of Thailand, but also living in their own countries, that the information that we provide is correct, it's true, it's not false information, it's not what they call misinformation, which is a new buzzword. Misinformation generally, in my opinion, comes from the people that want to hide the truth. So you will find that anybody that's in power is going to be doing that. They're going to be passing on this so-called misinformation. They will not give you the whole picture. Now, people out there will know that this channel doesn't have any controversial subjects anymore, because a little while ago we had a YouTube delete a video for so-called misinformation. So I have made the choice of not making any, and if I do make any controversial videos, you will find them on my Odyssey channel, which is actually uncensored and within reason. So that's what I'm going to say, is that anything over there, you will find it is truthful, but also dealing with subjects that we cannot talk about here. We have a responsibility, and people like, for example, Russell Brand. I mean, he got 6 million subscribers. He, to me, is very much, he's honest, he's truthful, and any information that he passes on is balanced. It's balanced by having both sides of the story, both sides of the argument, both sides evidence-wise, providing the backup for what he says. Is very, very important that we have backup, factual information. Whereas the likes of this guy, this is a guy who posts on YouTube, and he was posting very much a one-sided view. You'll see that because he had to apologise for his views.
But I do feel quite let down about it, and I also feel I got a bit of a sickening feeling when I was reading these articles, because I conveyed to you at the time information I was getting from the scientific literature, and it now turns out that this wasn't quite as analytical as we'd like it to be. Now, this is related to viral origins, but the point is, if the literature is open to debate now in retrospect about viral origins, what else is going to turn out to be open to further debate? What else did we talk about from the scientific literature that might be less than accurate? Well, we can't really say that at the moment. We can just say what we're talking about here. So pretty let down, and it's I feel, well, basically I'd like to apologise for getting it wrong in the early stages of the pandemic.
So as you saw, he has done a complete 180 in his thinking, and in the beginning I actually stopped watching him because of all the alleged misinformation that he was providing and the pushing of the standard narrative, and we can argue that we follow what we believe, but the problem is he wasn't listening to the alternative view. He was what we call brainwashed into believing the narrative, and unfortunately there has been a lot of people following the narrative, and this is a problem because now everything is being revealed. It's all being revealed in truth and data. The stats can't lie. Well, they can, because what the government are doing is amending the data to form their own narrative. Now, unfortunately, we can't do anything about that, but what we can do is provide you with the original data before they decided to amend it. And anybody with any brain can see that the data says a certain thing, but people are not believing it. And they have had this last 2 years, 3 years, in fact, to listen to the narrative, listen to the government, listen to the mainstream media, and people like him who have 2 million plus subscribers. That is 2 million people who have heard his side of it, and obviously his side of it is biased. He is pushing the standard narrative with no other viewpoint. There is no viewpoint other than what he says, and as we know from his apology, he got it wrong. So how many other people have got it wrong? I do suggest that we now go over to Odysee, where we can talk about this in depth. So if you're not already there, click the like button, click the subscribe button, and then click the link in the comments, which goes to Andy Wright Travel on the Odysee channel, and I'll see you there in a moment for part 2.